Welcome to The Explainer. You hear about financial freedom all the time, right? It's this huge goal for so many of us, but honestly, the path to get there can feel, well, super overwhelming. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We've got a clear, step-by-step roadmap to actually help you get there.
Okay, but before we jump into the how, let's just pause for a second. This phrase, financial freedom, gets thrown around all the time. But what does it really, truly mean to you? Is it about, quitting the 9 to 5, traveling the world? Or is it just about that simple peace of mind? Look, it's a super personal question, and figuring out your own answer, that's the real starting point for this whole journey. So, if we're going to put a more formal definition on it, here's what we're talking about. It's all about getting to a point where the money you've saved up, your corpus as they call it, is big enough to cover your entire lifestyle. And yeah, that includes inflation, those rising costs, all without you having to actively work for an income. It's the ultimate freedom, right? The freedom to work because you want to, not because you have to.
Okay, so to make this whole idea feel real, not just some fuzzy dream, we need a concrete target. And that target, it has a pretty cool name, the FIRE number. You've probably heard of it. FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. This number, this is the exact amount of money you need to save up to make all that freedom we just talked about a reality. Think of it as your personal finish line. So the big question is, how do we actually get there? Well, our roadmap today is broken down into 4 key parts. First, we'll build your financial map. Then we'll talk about growing and protecting your wealth. After that, we'll get into how to stay on track. And finally, we'll talk about your most important next step.
All right, let's dive right into part 1. You'd never start a road trip without a map, right? Well, it's the exact same thing with your finances. Your map starts with knowing exactly where you are right now and where you're trying to go.
So, the foundation for this whole plan, it really comes down to 2 things. First, figuring out what you actually want, your goals. And second, getting real about your financial situation today. Let's break those down. Your goals are the why. They're what give this whole journey its purpose. And they can be anything. Buying a house in 5 years, maybe paying for your kids' college in 15, or even something bigger, like creating a legacy. But here's the key. They have to be clear and measurable. Because a vague goal, that's just a wish. A specific goal, now that's a target you can actually aim for.
Okay, step 2 is all about your cash flow. And don't let the word budget scare you. All it really means is getting a crystal clear picture of what's coming in and what's going out. And listen, this is not about restricting yourself. It's about empowering yourself. It helps you build good habits, live within your means, and this is the most important part. It shows you exactly how much extra cash you have at the end of the month that you can start putting to work towards those goals we just talked about.
All right, so you've got your map, you know how much you could invest. Now it's time for the really exciting part, building the engine. This next section is all about putting that money to work, to really start pushing you towards that FIRE number. And this part has 2 pieces, and they are equally important. Step 3 is all about growing your wealth with smart investing, and step 4 is about building a financial fortress around that wealth to protect it when life throws you a curveball.
So, to invest wisely, we can use this really simple but powerful little formula called ARC. The A stands for asset allocation. Basically, this is just about choosing the right mix of investments, things like stocks and bonds, based on what your goal is and your timeline. And honestly, this is probably the single most important decision you'll make for your long-term returns.
Next up, the R stands for regular investing. This one is all about consistency. Look, this journey is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So committing to investing a certain amount of money every single month, no matter what, that's how you build discipline and real momentum.
And finally, the C stands for compounding. You've probably heard this called the 8th wonder of the world, and for good reason. This is that magical point where the money your investments make starts making its own money. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, just getting bigger and bigger and faster over time. It can totally accelerate your wealth. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that time is your single greatest ally. And this quote really nails it. Delaying things means you miss out on years of that compounding magic. I'm telling you, starting early, even if it's with small amounts, can make an absolutely massive difference in hitting that FIRE number.
Okay, let's talk protection. Because an unexpected crisis can completely derail even the best-laid investment plans. That's why managing that risk is totally non-negotiable. What does that mean? It means having enough life insurance to protect your family, having solid health insurance for any medical emergencies, and having a dedicated emergency fund. Seriously, being underinsured is a huge problem that stops so many families from ever reaching their goals.
So your very first savings goal, it should be that emergency fund. The target here is super simple. Have enough cash saved up to cover at least 6 months of your essential living expenses. And you want to keep this money somewhere safe and easy to get to, so it's ready for any curveball life decides to throw at you. This is your financial safety net, pure and simple.
All right, so you've built the plan, you've started the engine, but this is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. This next phase is all about maintenance, about thinking long-term, and making sure your plan actually changes and grows as your life does.
And that involves 2 key things. Step 5 is about checking in on your progress regularly and making tweaks along the way. And step 6 is about estate planning, making sure your legacy is passed on smoothly when the time comes. And this little table here perfectly shows why that regular check-in is so important. Your investment mix can't just stay the same forever. See, when a goal is way off in the future, you can afford to be more aggressive, focus on growth with things like stocks. But as you get closer to actually needing that cash, you'll want to slowly shift into safer investments, like bonds, to protect what you've built. This whole process of rebalancing, it's absolutely key to long-term success.
Now, step 6, estate planning. I know, it's something a lot of us put off, but honestly, it's one of the most profound acts of care you can do for your family. It's just about making sure your assets are easy to access and that you've clearly named who gets what. Taking this one crucial step can save your family from so much stress, legal headaches, and arguments during what's already going to be a really tough time.
Wow, okay, we have covered a lot of ground, from setting your goals all the way to protecting your legacy. So, what's the final piece of the puzzle? What's the step that ties all of this together and really helps you pull it off with confidence?
It's getting some expert guidance. A good qualified financial advisor, they don't just give you advice. Think of them more like a co-pilot for this whole journey. They can help you nail down your exact FIRE number, build a plan that's tailored just for you, and maybe most importantly, keep you on track when the markets get scary or life just gets in the way. But, and this is a big but, you have to choose wisely. As this quote says, even though things are more organized these days, you still really need to do your homework. You want to look for a qualified, registered professional, not just someone trying to sell you a product, to make sure the advice you're getting is truly in your best interest.
So there you have it. We've laid out the entire roadmap. You now have the blueprint to build a more secure, more free future for yourself. But here's the thing about a map. It's totally useless until you actually take that first step. So the question for you is, what's your first step going to be? Maybe it's just writing down your goals tonight. Or maybe it's tracking your spending for just 1 week. Whatever it is, the most important thing you can do is to just begin.